History books love heroes, geniuses, and people who get it right. But honestly, the world is run by idiots, and they leave the best stories. One man's wrong turn ignited a world war. One executive dismissed a billion-dollar invention. One tailor jumped off the Eiffel Tower to test his own parachute. These weren't random nobodies. These were leaders, inventors, and visionaries armed with advisors, resources, and common sense. And somehow, they spectacularly failed. Over the next 25 stories, you'll see history shaped by colossal screw-ups, wild miscalculations, and hilariously bad judgment. Number 1. The man who started World War I by taking a wrong turn. History books love alliances and diplomacy, but sometimes wars start because someone literally can't read a map. June 28, 1914, Archduke Franz Ferdinand of Austria is cruising through Sarajevo like he's on a royal sightseeing tour. Waiting for him? A band of assassins, including Gavrilo Princip, lying in the street like it's a morbid game of hide-and-seek. Earlier, Nedeljko Kabranovic tried a grenade, which bounced off the car and barely hurt anyone, except for some unlucky bystanders. Later, Ferdinand's driver gets lost, takes a wrong turn, and stops right in front of Princip. One shot later, Franz Ferdinand and his wife Sophie are dead, and Europe collectively face bombs into World War I. All because someone ignored Google Maps. Number 2. Napoleon invades Russia in winter. Napoleon was the ultimate flex king. Conquered Europe, crowned himself emperor, basically the original I-can-do-anything guy. So naturally he thought, Russia? Easy. In winter? Even better. Spoiler alert. Snow doesn't negotiate. Napoleon marched 600,000 men into Russia with zero plan for the freezing temperatures, terrible roads, or the Russians' brilliant scorched earth strategy. By the time the retreat started, frostbite, starvation, and Cossacks had shredded the Grande Army. Only about 100,000 made it home. Napoleon learned the hard way that Mother Nature has a better army than anyone else. Number 3. The Titanic ignores ice warnings because vibes. The Titanic was a crown jewel of human arrogance. Unsinkable, they said. Floating palace, they said. Icebergs? Minor inconvenience. Multiple ships sent warnings, but Captain Edward Smith was like, nah, we've got speed, style, and vibes. On April 14, 1912, the Titanic hits an iceberg anyway. The unsinkable ship sinks. Over 1,500 people die. The lesson? No matter how shiny your deck or fancy your chandeliers, ignoring repeated warnings usually ends badly. Sometimes it even ends in icy water. Number 4. The French built a wall. Germany walked around it. After World War I, France thought, let's make Germany pay by building the Maginot Line. A giant, expensive fortress stretching along the border. Brilliant, right? Except Germany didn't read the plan. In 1940, Hitler's army just went around it through Belgium. The French troops spent millions on a static line that literally didn't matter while the Germans rolled past. Maginot Line, 1 million tons of concrete, zero effect. Europe, still getting invaded. Lesson, walls only work if you don't leave the sides open. Number 5. The man who sold Manhattan for trinkets. In 1626, Dutch colonists wanted New Amsterdam, later Manhattan. Enter Peter Minuit, the Dutch director, who somehow convinced the local Lenape people to sell the island. For what? Trinkets, beads, and trinkety nonsense valued at about $24 in today's money. The Lenape probably thought, cool, here's some shiny stuff, while the Dutch started building the most valuable real estate on the planet. Minuit, master negotiator or complete fool. Depends if you're looking at him or the Lenape's hindsight. Either way, someone turned Manhattan into a bargain basement deal. Number 6. German U-boat sinks itself because of a toilet. 1945. Captain Karl Adolf Schlitt commands U-1206, the pride of the German Navy. Cutting-edge submarine, deadly torpedoes, and a toilet so complicated it needed an engineering degree. Schlitt decides to use it without reading the manual. He turns the wrong valve. Seawater floods in, hits the batteries. Boom. Chlorine gas fills the sub. The crew surfaces, right in front of British aircraft. They scuttle the submarine. One man dies, several captured, and Germany loses its most advanced U-boat to a bowel movement. History doesn't often punish poop this hard. Number 7. The lawyer who proved windows are indestructible. By falling 24 stories. Gary Hoy was a Toronto lawyer with a party trick. He'd body check the unbreakable windows of his 24th floor office. Hundreds of times it worked. In 1993, he demonstrates again, and the glass doesn't break. It just pops out of the frame. Hoy falls 24 stories to the courtyard below. He was technically right. The glass didn't shatter. But physics doesn't care about being technically right. Hoy lost everything. Proving confidence plus incorrect assumptions is a dangerous combo. Number 8. Thomas Austin's 24 rabbits wiped out Australia. 1859 Australia. Thomas Austin thinks this continent needs rabbits for hunting. So he releases 24 of them. 24. Within a decade, millions. By the 20th century, billions. Crops destroyed, native vegetation gone, erosion everywhere. Fences? Poison? Hunters? Nothing worked. Austin wanted a Sunday afternoon hobby. Instead, he created an ecological apocalypse that persists 160 years later. 24 rabbits, billions of consequences, zero foresight. Number 9. The Austrian army panics without an enemy. 1788. 100,000 Austrian soldiers march to fight the Ottomans. One night, some find locals selling schnapps. They buy it all, get drunk, and chaos ensues. Different units can't understand each other. Someone yells, Turks. Panic spreads. Cavalry charges infantry. Artillery fires on their own lines. By morning, 1,000 to 10,000 Austrian soldiers are dead or wounded, all self-inflicted. The Ottomans arrive 2 days later to find a devastated battlefield, and no actual battle. The army defeated itself without firing a shot at the enemy. Number 10. The executive who thought talking movies were a gimmick. 1927. Warner Brothers develops synchronized sound for films. Enter Harry Warner, one of the founding brothers. Talking pictures? Who wants to hear actors talk? He dismisses it as a fad. 1 year later, the jazz singer premieres, revolutionizing cinema. Silent film stars evaporate overnight. Warner's useless gimmick turns into the biggest industry transformation of the decade. He literally stood on a gold mine and called it a worthless, yellow rock. Number 11. The bank robber who thought lemon juice could make him invisible. 1995, Pittsburgh. MacArthur Wheeler decides to rob 2 banks in broad daylight. His disguise? Lemon juice smeared on his face. Why? Because lemon juice can be used as invisible ink, so naturally, he assumed it would make him invisible to cameras too. He even tested it with a Polaroid, blurry picture. Proof it worked. Cameras, of course, recorded him crystal clear. Police arrested him that same night. Wheeler's confidence was unmatched. The Dunning-Kruger effect had a poster child. Number 12. The CIA turns a cat into a spy and loses it to a taxi. 1960s. The CIA spends $20 million on Operation Acoustic Kitty, surgically turning a regular house cat into a high-tech spy. Microphone in the ear, radio transmitter in the skull, antenna in the tail, James Bond. But fluffier. First mission. Release the cat near Soviet targets in Washington. Outcome? Taxi. The cat gets squashed within minutes. $20 million, years of research, and cutting-edge surgery obliterated by a yellow cab. Secret agents everywhere quietly nod. Sometimes espionage loses to traffic laws. Number 13. The Ugandan dictator who declared war on the USA. Idi Amin, Uganda, 1978. Known for brutality, madness, and absurd self-titles like Lord of the Beasts of the Earth and Fishes of the Seas. But his greatest move? Declaring war on the United States. The Pentagon's response, crickets. Amin celebrated his imaginary victory for a day, awarded himself medals, and told anyone who'd listen that he had defeated the superpower. The lesson: sometimes winning is just a matter of imagination and delusion. Number 14. The man who poisoned the planet. Twice. Thomas Midgley Jr. might be history's most environmentally destructive human. In the 1920s, he invented leaded gasoline, poisoning the atmosphere for decades. Then, as if that wasn't enough, he created CFCs, destroying the ozone layer. One man, two inventions, global chaos. Oh, and irony followed him to the grave. After contracting polio, he invented a pulley system to get out of bed, got tangled, and accidentally strangled himself. Midgley proves genius can be devastating, especially when combined with zero foresight. Number 15. The Navy that went on a 7-month vacation before getting destroyed. 1904, Russia sends its Baltic fleet on an 18,000-mile journey to fight Japan. Admiral Zinovy Rozhesvansky commands, and the result is legendary incompetence before they even meet an enemy. They shoot at fishing boats, collide with each other, and by exotic animals along the way. Ships stop for barnacle scrapes. Sailors fall ill. 7 months later, when they finally meet the Japanese fleet, destroyed in 45 minutes at the Battle of Tsushima. Lesson: long trips plus poor planning equals epic fails. Number 16. The emperor who spent a third of his country on a coronation. 1966, Central African Republic. Jean-Bedel Bokassa decides being president isn't flashy enough. He wants to be emperor, literally. The coronation? Modeled after Napoleon's, complete with a golden throne, jewel-encrusted crown, and gold-plated carriage imported from France. Cost $20 to $30 million, about a third of the country's entire budget. Meanwhile, citizens still lacked hospitals, schools, and roads. 2 years later, Bokassa is overthrown. The takeaway? Sometimes the bigger your crown, the smaller your legacy, especially if it bankrupts the nation. Number 17. NASA loses a $125 million Mars orbiter because of units. 1999, NASA's Mars Climate Orbiter is en route to Mars, $125 million, cutting-edge science, and doomed by a math class mistake. The contractor used imperial units, pounds of force. NASA used metric newtons. Nobody checked. The result? The orbiter hits the atmosphere at the wrong altitude and disappears into space. One team used feet and pounds. Another used meters and newtons. One tiny conversion error and $125 million plus months of planning are gone. Science, 1 math, 0. Number 18. The general who lost 12 battles at the same river. World War I, Italy. General Luigi Cadorna orders frontal assaults on the Isonzo River 12 times. 12. Every single one ends in disaster. Thousands of soldiers die. Hundreds of officers executed for cowardice because they questioned his suicidal tactics. By 1917, after 300,000 surrender and the Italian lines collapse, Cadorna is finally removed. His replacement immediately realizes the problem. Troops aren't the problem. Sometimes the real disaster is the guy giving the orders. Number 19. The Hollywood executive who thought TV was useless. 1946, Darryl Zanuck, VP of 20th Century Fox, sees television and thinks, this won't last 6 months. The man who produced blockbuster films couldn't see that a plywood box would revolutionize media. 1 decade later, TVs are in millions of homes. Hollywood stars panic. Zanuck? Standing on a gold mine, calling it a useless fad. History loves irony, and TV loves executives who underestimate it. Number 20. The French tailor who jumped off the Eiffel Tower. Early 1900s, Paris. Tailor Franz Reichelt designs a wearable parachute coat. Tests with dummies? Mixed results. Human trials? Obviously mandatory. On February 4, 1912, he steps off the first platform of the Eiffel Tower, confident his invention will work. Spoiler, it doesn't. Reichelt falls 187 feet to the frozen ground below. Lesson learned? Confidence is important, but maybe test your parachute before volunteering as the guinea pig. Number 21. The vice president who corrected a kid on potato. 1992, New Jersey. Vice President Dan Quayle visits an elementary school spelling bee. 12-year-old William Figueroa spells potato correctly. Quayle, armed with a flashcard that's wrong, tells him it's spelled potato. Cameras capture it. The nation laughs. Quayle tries to blame the card. Doesn't matter. One tiny error, one moment in front of the press, and he becomes a living meme for political incompetence. Lesson. Sometimes your biggest legacy is just being a punchline. Number 22. The general who commanded a phone-free army. 1940, France. General Maurice Gamelin commands an army with more tanks than Germany and a fortress called the Maginot Line. But he refuses telephones or radios, relying entirely on motorcycle couriers. Meanwhile, Germany blitzkriegs past the front lines. French orders arrive hours late, tactical situations change, and the army collapses in 6 weeks. Lesson: speed matters. Paper plus bikes doesn't outrun tanks, no matter how heroic your intentions. Number 23. The drillers who turned a lake into a whirlpool. 1980, Louisiana. A Texaco drilling crew pokes a hole through the Diamond Crystal Salt mine under Lake Peigneur. Result? A 150-foot temporary waterfall, as the lake drains into the mine like a giant bathtub. Barges, tugboats, 65 acres of shoreline, sucked underground. Everyone survives miraculously, but the lake now measures 200 feet deep and full of salt water. Lesson: drilling without thinking equals instant disaster. Mother Nature hates shortcuts. Number 24. The engineer who forgot the door on a spaceship. 1986, NASA launches the Space Shuttle Challenger in front of millions of viewers, including school children watching live. Engineers had warned for months that the rubber O-rings sealing the booster joints failed in cold temperatures. Launch day was freezing. Management ignored the warnings. 73 seconds after liftoff, the O-rings failed exactly as predicted. The shuttle disintegrated midair, killing all 7 astronauts. This wasn't a mystery or bad luck. It was a checklist ignored, an email dismissed, and a schedule valued more than physics. Number 25. The king who died because he refused to get out of bed. In 1796, King Gustav III of Sweden was shot at a masquerade ball. Doctors begged him to rest. Instead, Gustav insisted on holding meetings, walking around, and pretending he was fine. Infection set in. Still, he refused treatment, ignored symptoms, and kept ruling from his sickbed like stubbornness was a medical strategy. 11 days later, complications killed him. The assassin didn't finish the job, arrogance did. History lesson: you can survive a gunshot wound, but not unchecked ego and zero common sense.